Bullies. What is your experience with them? What would you do if your bully was left alone with you? I know what I would do. But what if you were left alone with your bully? What would he do? Well, if it's the Trinity Killer, he has a few options. I wanted to use a more severe scene, but thanks to YouTube's latest updates, they are cracking down more and more on violence or violent scenes, which is just great for horror channels. Excuse me. So anyways, I saw the rule of Jenny Penn for my new horror of the week. Hopefully I made the right choice over this and not In the Lost Lands or Starve Acre. We'll see. Let's talk about Jenny Penn without spoilers. Time to get spooky wooky. The Rule of Jenny Penn is based on a short story of the same name, and as I was trying to find it before writing this review to see if there were any comparisons to point out for people who may have actually read the damn thing, I couldn't find shit on it, so I got nothing to share on the short story. But who cares about nerdy shit like books? Let's talk movies. The Rule of Jenny Penn has a pretty star-studded cast. You got the Trinity Killer.
You're like a child.
Child with a big knife.
Captain Barbossa.
You better start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
And one of the last survivors of 30 Days of Night.
I can't live forever. I can't.
So yeah, pretty good start for a small movie. So the story follows Barbossa. His name is Stefan in the movie, but honestly, why the fuck would I ever call him that when I got Barbossa in my back pocket? So he is a judge that suffers a stroke, and is taken to a nursing home to get his strength back. For the most part, he is confined to an electric wheelchair. His personality... how would I describe his personality?
He was a bit of a dick.
Which leads to quite a few comedic moments, though also some very lonely ones. Since his movement is limited, he is quite bitter about his situation, and you can't really blame him, because I'm sure all of you have met a happy old person and an unhappy one.
I said your fucking baby's gonna burn.
Next up, we have his roommate, the 30 Days of Night guy, Sonny. He is a former, I think, military man who shows that pride can take a big cost behind closed doors, which at first is tough to accept. Pretty much the whole movie is tough to accept, but with time you do understand that in the face of an unstoppable force like the Trinity Killer, some people just can't keep fighting, or freeze, or just pretend that it doesn't happen. And then there is the infamous Trinity Killer, Dave, who menaces everyone around him. They give him blue eyes to make his stare even more frightening, though he would do a pretty good job without it. Seriously, the guy can slip into a villain role like a custom-fit meat suit. The reason why the movie is called The Rule of Jenny Penn is because Trinity almost always has a puppet hand doll on him, and he uses that as a tool to convince the staff that he is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but also as a sinister personality that all of the old people around him can fear. I don't think it would surprise anyone when I say that the performances are spot on. The guy playing Sonny may not be the biggest of actors, but Barbossa and Trinity Killer are a slam dunk for damn near everything they do. But they aren't the only slam dunks in the movie. Pretty much everyone does great. And I guess the idea of them doing a horror movie in an old folks home sounded like fun. I know I have a dark sense of humor and an absolute love of horror that's portrayed, I think, pretty accurately here on this channel, but if this movie doesn't rile you up, you have no fucking soul.
I am super duper serial.
Yeah, there are plenty of villains in horror movies that you just can't wait for them to get their comeuppance, and the Trinity Killer here immediately gets to the top of the list. Maybe not number one, but he is definitely up there to the point where he would be like best friends with the Devil's Rejects guys.
Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
Okay, now to go into a bit of the negatives, this movie is considered a horror movie, yes, but is it scary? Not so much. There are some moments when our villain is being menacing and does terrible things to helpless people, sure, but it's mostly aggravating, mean, and sadistic, not really scary. He gets away with quite a bit, but he isn't like hosting underground blood sports or using bingo night to summon Cthulhu, but sometimes the stuff that he actually does, it does seem a bit ridiculous with how much he can get away with, and no one suspects him or even keeps an eye on him. It would have helped if in the movie they stated that the place is understaffed or something, but without that bit of information, some things seem to go too smoothly for the Trinity Killer. We get a few scary dreams here and there, but they aren't really anything jaw-dropping like in Hereditary.
Why did they kill me?
If I were to invent new categories or subcategories for movies, I would still keep this in horror, but maybe behind something like terror or something. I'm not sure. This is a Shudder movie, so good on them for making another goodie to build up their credit. And I think this movie is worth seeing in theaters, and if you do, that will do well for the streaming service. So it's a two birds, one stone kind of deal. Short and sweet is how I like to keep my non-spoiler reviews, which sucks for YouTube's algorithm, so please do the like, comment, subscribe bullshit, and even drop a recommendation below, and I'll give you a 7 Feet Under review like I did with my Suspiria remake versus the original movie. Thanks for watching, and keep it spooky.